Don't say these things when negotiating with insurance companies. I'm Matt Mulholland, and that's Remington Huggins. This is Listen to This Bull. Let's get into it. I'm so in love with this topic.
What you got, Matt?
What not to say while negotiating.
You have this smile on your face. You are ready to go, sir. You are ready to go.
There's so many things that you should not say while negotiating that some of it probably doesn't even need to be said in the what not to say while negotiating. Like, you obviously don't want to say your mom is fat while negotiating.
That'd be a plus. That'd be a plus.
Right?
Matt's so technical, that's the first thing he wanted to come out with.
Yeah. While negotiating,
Literally the most technical person
Yeah.
I think I know in this whole entire industry. I love it.
Maybe fat mama jokes probably need to stay out of negotiation techniques. So
I mean, what if you just do like a cough though, like your mom's fat? So we were talking numbers here.
Yeah.
What else you got?
I don't know. Is that your feet I smell? And anything along those lines where you are personally attacking somebody you probably don't want to do while negotiating.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. You ever had a moment where you're like, I probably shouldn't have said that?
While negotiating?
Uh-huh.
I mean, I probably have. I can't think of one that honestly like sticks out. I gotta say, and I want to preference this. I love negotiating.
Yeah.
It's like what I love with my job, and it's, you know, as an attorney, you do all kinds of things. You write briefs, you do depositions, everything. My favorite's negotiating. So I just want to preference that. So have I said something probably, and I was like, oh, maybe, but like I think it's an art.
I got one
really
that stands
do.
out.
What's that?
I got one that stands out.
What you got?
So for a while with State Farm, we were fighting over different types of flashing that needed to be replaced. And this adjuster that I was working with, I had worked with him that week on 2 or 3 other claims where he asked for the exact same thing on every single claim. And I had already provided it to him. And it's like, here's the language from the building code for the flashing, the reason that we have to replace this. Here it is. And I gave it to him multiple times that week. And he asked me for it again on a separate claim. I fucking snapped. So at that time, there was this website that was like, let me Google that for you. Do you know this website? It probably still exists, but you can go to letmegooglethatforyou.com or something. And then it basically pulls up this Google page where you type in what they should be Googling. And I typed in flashing code for Georgia or something along those lines. And then it would give you a link to send to someone. And so I sent this link to someone, and this is what it would look like when he opens it up. He would say, oh, here's the flashing stuff I needed. And he would click it, and it would open a Google page. And then the arrow would move across the screen for him, click into the search bar, and it would type in for him flashing requirements for Georgia and hit enter. And it would start scrolling through all the different things. And the top of the page would say, here, let me Google that for you. Because I got so tired of giving them the same crap over and over again on different claims. Why do I need to give this to you multiple times? I've given you this multiple times. But that was a dick move. It was not an appropriate thing to do.
Did it get approved?
Yeah. I had some problems with this guy after that.
I can imagine.
Go figure. We were okay up until that point. I snapped, man. I got so tired of it. I was like, put this on the wall at State Farm's office. You have it from now on. That's just not how claims work, you know?
I mean, backing somebody in a corner in the sense of making them defensive, definitely not a good move in negotiating.
Not a good move.
Right.
Don't ask yes or no questions to paint them into a corner. I agree with that. It doesn't go as well as you think. You get to that point where you're like, here's the coup de grace moment. They're going to say yes, they're going to say no, and they can't say no. They have to say yes. No, there's a third option. They can say our position stands, and that's what they do.
There you go. You got to look at it this way. Like, here's a negotiation. Here's a table. You're supposed to meet somewhere on this table.
Yeah.
If you back somebody in the corner, they're moving away from that table.
That's an interesting way to think about it. Yeah.
Get them to the table. And
Yeah.
then once you get them to the table, you can start, giving your arguments in a way where it's passive aggressive, if you will.
Right.
Where they're, get them to agree with you. Like, hey,
You can do that by agreeing with them on some things first.
absolutely.
Yeah. Sometimes you just have to be the first one to do something.
Absolutely.
Yeah. There are things that I see. This is almost better to do what to do while negotiating instead of what not to say. One of the best things you can do while negotiating, if you're trying to get coverages, is to explain why they don't owe for something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, here's a stain on the ceiling. Policyholder told me that started about 4 years ago. And that's a 4-year-old stain. I'm just showing it to you in case you guys need it for underwriting purposes. We're not claiming this. We know that you don't owe for that. You say that to somebody, they're more likely to believe you when you say, well, this is damages that did occur during that storm. Because you're being honest.
Yeah. Kind of own your bad facts. Well, it's not even bad. Hey, look.
Yeah.
This is old. That's not part of this.
Yeah.
You gain credibility right there.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of open up.
Mm-hmm.
This guy's reasonable.
This guy's not trying to bullshit me.
Right.
Right?
Right.
That's the key.
I would agree 100% on that. I would. When going back to not what to say while negotiating, I was trying to go through my brain, and it's probably like 7 years ago. Try not to get heated, because there's time where I've gotten heated with another attorney. It happens. Yeah, it happens.
You can't help it.
You can't help it. It happens. Try to keep cool.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm gonna see you in court. Click. Like, I shouldn't have done
that. Probably should have said that.
I probably shouldn't have said that.
That didn't go
I just
well.
got really mad there. Keep your cool. I was just using that as an example.
I'll be honest. If you're the one that is calm and collected on that call, and they're the one that seems unreasonable, if that ever ended up in litigation, who's going to win that?
Yeah.
The guy that's reasonable. You don't have to be the guy that is so angry. And that's hard to do when you're a new contractor or a new public adjuster and you see all the atrocities, you see all the injustice that's going on, and you want to fight against all of it. And you really need the money. So you really need to win, which makes it personal, which makes it easier to get emotional about it. If once you start having so many claims that it doesn't really matter if you win that one for your own personal bottom line, then you can stop having such an emotional reaction. That seems to work out that way. But you got to try to train yourself not to have that emotional reaction now while you still need the money to make this work, because that emotional reaction does cause problems. Negotiations should not have emotions involved if you want to win.
I agree. I like that a lot. One thing is that I've tried to collect my data points on negotiating, and I've started writing some stuff down. Just one of these data points is try to figure out what the other side, where their threshold is of thinking they won, and so they agree to something. So I'll just give you an example.
Okay.
We're negotiating a claim. I'm negotiating with an attorney. We're at the public adjuster's estimate is for $500,000. The offer from my client's $400,000. Sometimes their threshold is look, they're not getting a full roof. That's what they want. Your client doesn't want to pay for a full roof. Like, you guys are winning this. I'm telling you, it works.
So telling them that they're going to win in that example?
My client's not getting a full roof from this settlement. That's what your client wanted. Like, that's what they want. They don't want to give you a full roof. Like, just giving them like a little nugget of, hey,
information that they need.
letting them think that they have won the negotiation.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
But sometimes they haven't. No,
Right.
really haven't. It's
So in that example, potentially they still were able to pay for a full roof out of that amount of money anyway.
correct.
But you're saying to them, they're not going to be able to get the full roof. And that's what your client wants out of this. So
They're
I
not
see
getting
what you're
the full
saying.
roof.
You're basically pushing them to think that they've won, that they've gotten what they've needed.
Right. What is that
You
threshold?
could give us another 50,000 and they still can't do the roof.
And
you totally should.
again, that was just like a little example.
Yeah.
But I've learned where if they think they've accomplished their job of winning in the negotiation, it helps out.
So yeah.
And you're peeling the onion to see where they're at,
Yeah.
which helps a lot. This I haven't thought about this claim in so long. It was Hurricane Michael. I think it was Michael. You went down to like Macon area. It was South Georgia.
Uh-huh.
Was that Hurricane Michael?
Yeah, it was.
It was like 2018.
Yep.
October 10.
Yep.
Wow, I'm impressed.
It's crazy you remember the date of the hurricane.
So so it was a hotel claim, and he signed it up, got coverage open, everything else, but they weren't paying for some items. I got involved, and I remember I was filed a lawsuit. They had an attorney on their side. I was in my conference room on a speakerphone with two other attorneys in the firm with me, and I was talking to this opposing counsel, and he was like, "Well, I got to say, there's discrepancies that we have with your estimate that you have." I was like, "Well, what are they?" He was like, "For instance, the trim that you guys have in the estimate, it's longer than it's more footage than is actually in these hotel rooms." I was like, "Well, then just take it out."
Yeah. Okay.
He was like, and also there was an extra window in the estimate. I'm like,
Let's remove that too.
"Hey, just take it out."
Yeah.
All right. Like we went through like 4 items where I was like, "Fine, take it out." I was like, "All right, so where are we at now?" These are the arguments you wanted to make to prove that you were going to try and win this negotiation.
I mean, where are they going with that?
Hey, let's take it out. Where are we
Yeah.
at now? What's the RCV value now?
Yeah.
We're talking about. I remember like literally because my colleague and we calculated it all. I mean, this was like a $300,000 claim. He took out like $1,500, and I was like,
whole
and
argument
we
was
sold, and we
$1,500.
settled it.
Wow.
But anyway,
Yeah.
what I'm trying to say is like if they, all right, fine. Like to me, he thought he won.
Yeah.
Right.
He did the thing that he needed to do.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I'll do
So-
that kind of thing on site. I have often thrown my own employees under the bus. And I've asked them to do that to me many times, by the way. I'm not ashamed to have my employee throw me under the bus if it helps a policyholder out. So one of my PAs might have written the estimate, and I might be out there reading the estimate to the carrier, to the adjuster. Well, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. Yeah, you know what? You're right. I don't really know why that's there. The guy that wrote this is kind of new. We probably have some errors in this. If we had come across any others, we'll strike those out too. But let me go ahead and mark these out. I'll send you an updated one sometime later today. And I was willing to make that kind of a statement. My guy is new. He's going to get some things wrong. Everybody gets things wrong. The adjusters understand when you say something like that. Yeah, he's new. I'll talk to him about it, but we'll definitely take those off. If there's anything else, we'll talk about that now too. And if there was something on there that was worth negotiating or talking about, like, actually, no, I believe that this is accurate. Let's talk about that particular line item, and here's the why.
Right.
But because I was willing to get rid of the items that were wrong,
Right.
I wonder. Tell me if this is fraudulent or in bad faith. Thinking out loud. What if I put a few inaccurate line items in my estimate on purpose?
Yeah.
Just
Don't do that.
Don't do that. Obviously.
Don't do that.
That's the beer talking. What am
Hey,
I thinking?
And also is this like, if you lose your credibility in a negotiation once, it's gone with that opposing adjuster or opposing attorney for the rest of your career.
That is
like
100% true.
and like there are attorneys where I don't trust at all just because I've just found out that it's just their credibility was so bad. So don't do that. You got to be reasonable. You got to come with, and that's a tip for me to other attorneys and PAs,
I got hired by another public adjuster to work his claim once. And this other public adjuster was very adamant that we push for a lot of things, more than I would normally push for. It was with an insurance company that was very amicable. It was Amica. That's why that was funny. So they were very easy to deal with. They were a good insurance company. And the adjuster I was meeting with, I was pushing for, it was a roof that was damaged, but we had flashing that was going to need to be replaced, which meant that there was going to be some siding on the chimney to be replaced, and then it became a matching issue for paint and stuff, and we couldn't get the paint to match perfectly, but it was really close, but it was not close enough for this public adjuster client of mine, so we were pushing for a lot of different things, and this adjuster was getting angrier and angrier, and this is somebody that I needed to meet with on other claims, and it's Amica. They're great.
Yeah.
They're great. All right. I felt horrible doing a lot of these things. Eventually, I told that other PA, friend of mine, we're still friends, but I told him I can't work on his claim anymore. Right? I'm walking away from it. You don't owe me anything. I'm going to rescind myself. And that's what I did. And I sent in a document, rescission. What's it called when you take yourself off a claim? You need a...
just like a release of claim.
A release. So I sent in a release. And I met with this same adjuster maybe 4 months later on a different claim. And we're talking, and we're starting to fight over easy, obvious things. And I'm thinking to myself, well, shit. I don't normally fight over this stuff with Amica. This is normal stuff. It was like flashing or something that needed to be replaced. I wasn't going after everything else. But he was anticipating that I was going to take that and then push into all this other shit. And so he fought me on it. And I had to say to this guy, listen, we need to stop for a second, and I really need to apologize to you. The last time we met, I was on a claim where I got hired by a different public adjuster. It was his claim. That was his house. And he wanted me to push for all these things, and I have to do what my client says because I represent that client's best interest, and that's what their best interests were. That's what they wanted.
Right.
I eventually rescinded myself. I took myself off of that claim because I also didn't agree with some of the stuff that I was fighting for. I am not like that on other claims. I didn't take any payment from that. I want to apologize to you personally for putting you through the hell that I put you through. I don't know what happened with that claim. That isn't how I work claims. It's not how I'm going to work this claim. It's not how I'm going to work any future claim. I kind of took a hard stand on myself there. So I checked myself. I'm very sorry. Would you mind if we started over and tried to work with each other on this one? And thank God. He was like, oh, thank God.
Woo!
Man, I thought I was going to be dealing with an asshole again. I was like, yeah, man, that was a rough one. I'm really sorry. But
See,
man,
he came to the field with his armor on, with his sword already.
Ready to go.
Ready to go.
Yeah, because I had been a dick to him in the past.
Yeah.
So what not to say when you're negotiating? Anything that makes you a dick, don't be condescending.
Lose your credibility.
Don't lose your credibility.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. All right.
Love it.
I think that's enough of that shit.
I think it is too. I could write a book on this, and I'm going to one day. But this was the Cliff Notes?
Cliff Notes. I want to see that book. That'll be fun. All right.